Ayaba, a fugitive from the land he is pretending to be fighting for, is living in Europe and forming an alliance with another fugitive from Nigeria who is living in Europe. That's the only thing going on. Fake alliances to fight fake wars away from the battlefield. Maybe an alliance of fugitive is in the making, not an alliance between Ambazonia and Biafra. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on this program. My name is Augustine Ambe. I have a little response to an event or to happenings going on right now. It's really something I wanted to ignore because if you come to think about it, it's something that has no relevance to the fight on the ground. But it does have relevance to the thinking of our people and also to the thinking of the international community, especially Nigeria, and therefore has the potential to sabotage or create uncomfortable situations that Ambazonians don't need right now in our struggle. But before I go directly into the issue, let me give you a little bit of background to where I think we stand in our struggle right now. This struggle that we are in is a very important struggle. It's a struggle to, by ourselves, finish a job that the international community did not finish. And they did not finish it because they realized that if they gave independence to Ambazonia, where Ambazonia is situated, Ambazonia and its people could be very, very damaging to Western interests. Let me put it simple. And so they decided that Ambazonia, even though it was programmed by international law to have independence, they decided that they would not give that independence. And this is not something that they believed in the beginning, because in 1958, the British were ready to give independence to the people of Ambazonia. In fact, Ambazonia was already ready for independence. It was prepared for independence and testified at the UN that Ambazonia is ready for independence. But because of the activities of the UPC and the rise of Nkrumah and the friendship between Nkrumah and Foncha and things like that, and Nkrumah's leanings towards socialism or communism made the West decide that Ambazonia cannot be allowed to become independent. And so they truncated the independence of Ambazonia. Now, since then, and they did not truncate it by just acting like dictators. They actually created a process by which Ambazonia will be accommodated. I mean, because you can't just ignore them. If you ignore them, then what is happening now will happen. And they knew that then. And so they said, we are going to have you join La République du Cameroon as a federated state. And at the time, they speculated or they made preliminary arrangements that said you will join La République du Cameroon as a federated state. They stated what will be shared with La République du Cameroon as part of that federated state. And they said that federation shall never, ever become anything else but a federation. And so we went into that. Those who were supposed to finish the papers did not finish it, and so there was no legal binding. Till today, there's no legal binding for that commitment. It was something that you said. When you say something, you have to do what it takes to make that thing happen. And so the Federation of Ambazonia to La République du Cameroon never happened. But because Ambazonia was being engineered by foreign interests, They just let things go, and that's where we find ourselves today. And what they thought they could prevent then happened full time in 2016. This happened not because of what those who left the territory to Nigeria, to the United States, to Germany, to England, to Canada, to South Africa, all over the world. It was not because of these people. It was because of what the lawyers did, the teachers did. Mancho BBC came in, and our people rose up and said, we are fed up. We are fed up with this setup where we are being treated like children. We are being denied rights in our own land. In fact, our whole land is now owned by La Republique. They came in, they changed our laws. And so our people rose up. And when they rose up, La Republique knew that this is terrible. And so they went with a very heavy-handed. They went very heavy-handedly. But what happened was they made a situation that was bad worse. And so part of the leadership that was engineering this revolt on the ground moved to Nigeria, organized themselves there, and continued leading the revolution until the point where Seseko Ayok Tabe became the president of Ambazonia, went around the world, organized all of us from Europe to South Africa to the United States. We're all one people. And that was very threatening to La République du Cameroon. It was a nightmare for them because they saw where we were going, and they knew that it could not be stopped when we were working together like that. They knew that was a very effective leadership. It's doing the job. It's bringing us together, and we're all working together. I mean, I am. When I think about how we're working together, I remember the crowds in New York. I remember the crowds in Germany. I remember the crowds in South Africa. I remember how we're all working together. And so they engineered and captured Seseko Ayok Tabe and put him in jail. And when they put him in jail, it now gave room to what I call middlemen abroad to come in. Instead of looking for ways to maintain that one leadership wherein your captain is caught and you rally the troops and say, hey, we're better than that. We're not the people who depend on one person. Let's rally and continue the fight. What happened instead was that middlemen resident abroad decided that no, we are going to now take over and become the president of Ambazonia or their commander-in-chief. And so they took over the struggle. And as they took over the struggle, it wasn't one person. There were many of them running for positions. And so they split us in the diaspora because the diaspora had a very, very central role in the revolution on the ground. And the role was that we were free outside where we're earning hard currencies and we're going to finance the struggle on the ground. Because the boys were ready. We had the population, they were all ready. I mean, I'm recounting things that you know. So my words cannot beat the pictures that we saw. The pictures that we saw on October 1, 2017. But immediately Seseko was picked up and Sako took over. When Sako took over, this is what he did. And I want you to think about this struggle, not in terms of who you're supporting now, because if you think about who you're supporting now, then you'll be part of where our struggle is heading right now. Because I think we all can agree that we are not where we were in 2017. We are not together, and we are not following one leadership, and the focus is not the ground. The focus right now is either Sako or Choayaba or Yerima. We are all splintered right now. We're all in factions. And these factions are now competing within themselves. And let me tell you how this whole thing really started falling apart. When we were being very, very effective, there was one television, SCBC, broadcasting to our people. And this was created by people who were very, very creative. Because before then, who thought when they cut off our phones or the internet, that we can actually create a television and start communicating to our people through a television? But as a group of our people in South Africa did that. When Sako took over, Chris Anu came along, and Chris Anu, who has been for a long time trying to create a newspaper called Cameroon Journal or Southern Cameroon Journal, he changed many, many names, and then tried to do broadcasting on YouTube, now decided that, you know what, I am going to either make that SCBC become a thing for me to follow, to use in realizing my own dreams, or I'm going to create mine. Because now we've inherited this machine that is a cash machine, and people are funneling money. People had already placed their credit cards, and those credit cards were just funding, and they were looking at the money, and they're like, you know what, we can create our own. So they took the paperwork that created SCBC, and when SCBC was created, the name ABC became a reserved name where they were going to use when we have our independence. Because at the time, they decided that, well, since we've already, the brand SCBC is strong, let's keep it until when we have our independence, they can become the Ambazonian Broadcasting Corporation. Obviously, Chris Anu and Sako took the paperwork. They saw how these guys created this thing. They saw how they knew the satellite, they knew they had the phone numbers, they had everything. So they took it and went and started their own TV. And so money that was being contributed to support the struggle on the ground went to pay TV. AGovC on its own said, oh, we need to be part of SCBC. We need our message out, not just on the internet. SCBC said, come and join us. They went and joined SCBC. Then gradually they're like, now we want to create our own. And so Ambazonia now has 3 televisions. And the money that is being contributed by the different supporters of these factions is now going to pay for television, for 3 televisions, broadcasting to the same people, different messages, splitting them up, and the fighters were being neglected. There was somebody in Maryland saying, I'm the president. Another one in Norway saying I am the president. In fact, now he calls himself the leader of the revolution, whatever that means. Somebody's in Norway and wants to be the leader of the revolution on ground zero, where he cannot pass. So our revolution right now is splintered. People are more focused on serving these splinter groups and their middlemen who call themselves leaders, all living abroad, very far away from the struggle. And that is not helping the struggle. And so the fighters on the ground have either been neglected or people are supporting them on their own terms. Now, you hear some people argue that, oh, we are now in LGA per LGA. That is you cannot fight a war of liberation by dividing your people. That, oh, you fight your own war in your own house, fight the enemy in your own house, I fight the enemy in my own house, or fight the enemy in your own village, and I'll be fighting him in my own village. And so what La Republica has done when you have divided yourself like that is put 28 troops in a pickup truck and go and devastate a village, burn it down, and then pick on the next one and burn it down, and just keep doing that. Because, I mean, you say you have your defense forces, right? So each of them, when you show your head, they come and burn down your whole village. You can't stand them because you're a small village. You're not trained. The money that way, and most of these kids organize themselves in order to get some of the monies that they saw being raised abroad in terms of my trip to Boya money, in terms of all these war drafts. And we don't know what AGOVC was doing, but they were giving a lot of money too, because they are very good in marketing. And so our struggle right now, where is it? It's not where it used to be. In fact, the Republic would love to declare victory right now. In fact, it's been tempting many, many times to say, oh, it's done in order to take the international pressure off their backs to negotiate, to bring a negotiated settlement to the struggle. And La Republique would never go for a negotiated ceasefire or a negotiation end to the war, because they know that they know that they cannot win on any conference table. They know that. And they know that because we've taken this case to many, many courts, and every time we have won. So that is where we are now. We are really struggling. In fact, the fighting going on right now on the ground is fighting supported by individuals and not by so-called middlemen abroad. Because what the middlemen abroad did, they called some boys on the ground, gave them monies, and asked them to go and attack the other group or the other pretend group that's on the ground. Because you cannot be in Norway and create an army on the ground. And I know the formula, what they do. Boys create themselves, and they call us like, who's your leader? And they say, oh, this is our leader. Then they call him and say, oh, we'll send you $2,000 and then make your group become ADF. And I hate to call that name because that's one of the group that you only hear by name. That's one of the groups that started by inviting France 24 to come and go into their so-called camps, and knowing that France 24 is a television of the same colonial force that we're fighting. I mean, what are you doing? And so since then, it's been having people wearing fake uniforms, parading, but you never hear them in a war anywhere. You never hear them confronting anybody. And so La Republique has burned more than 500 of our villages. They have scattered all our people around, some in the bushes, some in La Republique, some in Nigeria. So, my brothers and sisters, it's been a disaster. It's been a disaster. And in this disaster, the boys on the ground who are fighting have not stopped fighting. A lot of them have been killed, especially our civilians. But the professional, and they are very professional fighters there, they have remained very, very strong in their fight and very, very effective. And that is what is killing La Republique right now. Because they would like for no fight to be going on, but the fighting continues, being supported by different groups. And I'm going to solicit some information from these groups and give you, because I've done some research on this. I know exactly what is going on the ground right now. And what is going on the ground right now is that these boys on the ground, having waited for 4 years, seen money raised, one scheme after another, but the money never came down, decided that they're going to forget about the diaspora. And if there are any people in the diaspora who want to support them, they will depend on those people. And there are many that have put little networks together, and they're supporting the boys on the ground. And what the boys on the ground have done is that they have abandoned these middlemen, but they formed themselves into our own organization where they are depending on themselves and their volunteer supporters abroad. And I wanted to do this show today because of what Cho Ayaba is doing with the Biafrans in Nigeria. But I wanted you to get this background to know why those moves are taking place. Those moves are taking place because of the irrelevance on the ground. You know, before the boys put themselves together, they were still able to manipulate some. When I did investigation on the ground, I was told that what ADF has on the ground right now is one guy called Big Number who lives in Batibo, and and have a few people with him. That's it. That's all what ADF is all about. Don't mind the propaganda. Don't mind the fake uniforms, because what guerrilla fighters go fighting and then have a bullseye on their back and say, "Hey, I'm a guerrilla fighter. I fight for ADF. Here's my uniform." But we have people here who are making themselves leaders of the Ambazonian revolution, hiding in Norway with a few people, and then suddenly they come out with this thing where they want to form a coalition with the Biafrans. And that's the show I want to talk about. That's what I want to discuss today. When this thing started, when I first read about this, I read a piece where Joe Ayaba was saying, "Oh, we're going to form an alliance with Biafra because we shouldn't depend on boundaries drawn by the white man, blah, 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 blah." You know, in order to accomplish anything, the first thing you want to do is deal with reality. Not the reality in your head, not the reality that you want it to be, but the reality on the ground. And the reality on the ground is that after 1884, I'm going to start from 1884, but I can go as far back as 400 years when they came in and caught Africans and took and abroad, and they worked for them like animals. But let's start in 1884. After 1884, the Europeans came down to Africa with their superior military force, with their superior organization, and they devastated our tribal communities. And they took over our land. They took it by force. Our people fought, but they lost. They fought, but they lost. Chief Kuva Lekenyi fought and died on the hills. But the Germans still took the Bakweri land. If you go to Lobialem, the founder of Lobialem fought very hard. But they had to capture him and send him to Garoua, took over his land. He lost. The founder of Bafut fought for years, lost. All the funds fought and lost. Okay, so we lost. That's a fact you have to accept. And then they imposed their language on us. At the time, we were living as little tribes and there was no common language. They took us and imposed their language on us. So we communicate right now by using their language. That's another fact. They drew boundaries, imposed their culture on us, gave us a macro system in a macro super village called a state that accommodated all of us and made us one big village. If you want to use that, if your mind cannot go past villages or tribes and make us one big tribe speaking different languages under the control of a central government that has arms that they could use to kill us if we don't obey. That is the new reality. So they cut their lines the way they want and say, now you're Nigeria, now you're La République du Cameroon, now you're Benin, now you are Ghana. They cut all of that off, impose different cultures, impose different languages, and that has become part of our DNA. It's become part of our DNA. And until you become strong enough, and then change that, but in Germany they did the same thing to the Germans. Part of Germany, part of the German people were in Austria, they were all scattered all over Europe. And Hitler came and said, I am strong enough, I'm going to bring all of it together. He didn't succeed. He did not succeed. And I'm saying this because when Cho Ayaba comes and says, we'll form an alliance with Biafra and forget what the white man did, I tell you, you're lying to yourself, but we will not allow you to lie to the Ambazonian people. But let me come back to what's going on right now. I read an article today where or right up to the where he's saying, on Sunday the 18th, I will have a broadcast where I answer some questions. No. I think what he's assuming there is that the rejection, that people have rejected his Ambazonian Biafra coalition is because of some misunderstanding. No, I think you spoke very clear, sir, and people understood what you said, and no amount of explanation would change that. But here's what I wrote when I read that, and I want to use that as an organized piece to put some light on what I think makes that whole proposal ridiculous. So I'm just going to read this, and then I can explain a little bit. So I said, there can be no worse blunder in our struggle for liberation than what Cho Ayaba is pretending to do with Biafra. I say pretending because there's nothing that can go on or is going on between the two peoples. Okay? Right now, there's no alliance between Ambazonia and Biafra. And there cannot be anything between Ambazonia and Biafra. Ayaba, a fugitive from the land he is pretending to be fighting for, is living in Europe and forming an alliance with another fugitive from Nigeria who is living in Europe. That's the only thing going on. Fake alliances to fight fake wars away from the battlefield. Maybe an alliance of fugitive is in the making, not an alliance between Ambazonia and Biafra. Okay, so that's the only thing going on. Because Cho Ayaba is a fugitive, and when I say a fugitive, I don't want to make it sound like it's a negative thing. The man has left the territory over 30 years, and he cannot go back and walk there. I was going to say he cannot go back and walk there like some of the boys are doing right now. And I can tell you, Cho Ayaba is not going to go and be in the bush, because to be honest with you, if Cho Ayaba really wanted to be the leader of the Ambazonian revolution, like he calls himself, and you down there doing that, I'm going to support the guy. I'm going to support him. But you cannot be in Europe and causing confusion, being a middleman, taking money that is donated to support the fight down in the territory, instead sponsoring a television station and taking care of yourself. If somebody asks me, what does Cho Ayaba do for a living, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. If somebody asks me, what is Sako doing for a living, I can't tell you. And so these people have positioned themselves from institutions, and all they do is divide us, cut us in pieces, slice us as they want, and then make us, not us, because I'm not one of them. I used to support Sako because he took over an institution which was an institution that we all built together as Ambazonians. But I stopped supporting him because what he did was he personalized those. He came and fired everybody, gave them bad names, and then everything became about him. His TV station, his presidency, his press hour, his secretaries, 70-something of them. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was one time I had a voicemail who go and say, well, I don't know how to send you money. Yeah, you don't know how to send money because when you came in, there was a lot of fighting going on the ground and people were financing it. And they knew how to send money to the ground. But you came and you fired all those people because you did not want to be challenged. And because you had different ideas on what to do with all the money you came and discovered. And that's why today, I was going to say, let me clarify another thing. Now that these boys have come together on the ground, they're coming together, they have made Sako irrelevant. My understanding is that Sako just walked away from the field because he did not want to be part of the coming together of these troops, of these boys to form a fighting force on the ground. Now, the one that is interesting is Chuayaba. Chuayaba did not actually go away. What he did was he contributed some money, but then he did not have control. He contributed some money to that force because everybody was moving there, and so even his ADF, even his ADF members, the few that were there, started moving away to join this bigger force, and that movement is going on strong. And so, but what happened was that's when you started hearing about stabilization force. This thing you've been hearing about stabilization force, it's about a force that they don't control. It's because of what these boys are doing on the ground. They're reorganizing themselves, and because they contributed a little bit of money to that effort, because they knew if they didn't contribute, they would lose. So to them, I said, you were thinking better than Sako was, because Sako walked away. Sako walked away. He doesn't have any fighters on the ground anymore. He walked away. But Cho knew that they lost control. We've been talking about the alliance between I want to say Agov C versus and this Namdi guy in Britain, but they like to say is a coalition between Ambazonia and Biafra, and I will use that in quotes. Okay, even that it's not a creation of Chuayaba. What Chuayaba did was he watched Sikot on an interview by this Nigerian lawyer who is an activist, and he saw that, wow, you know what? That's something I've been wanting to do. Because let me tell you why Chuayaba could not have initiated that without this going on. Because the boys in the Delta, they know Chuayaba. My reading was that, and this is what was written, that they know Chuayaba and Akwanka, that they are people who talk too much and nothing, and there's no substance there. They never follow through. Okay? And I'm not saying what they're doing now is any different, because, like I just told you, there are two fugitives all hiding in Europe, coming together in the name of a coalition between Ambazonia and some Biafra. My understanding also is that the Biafra people are not, the majority of Biafran people, even though they want their situation in Nigeria better and under their control, they are not for any war to become, they do not want to repeat what happened in the 60s. They don't. So, but let me continue reading my response, because it addresses some of these things more in a more organized way. So the Ambazonian liberation, and I'm beginning to enter into why it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for any Ambazonian to support this dumb thing that's being talked about. The Ambazonian liberation is more probable, it is advanced and grounded in law. Only a fool will want to soil it with an alliance with a people deep in a Nigerian pit and not supported by a majority of Biafrans. The Biafrans are trying to secede from Nigeria. You can secede, it's not against the law, but that is tearing yourself from a whole. Okay? That's tearing yourself off from a whole. From something that is together legally. It is harder. If you can tear yourself and succeed, wonderful. The Southern Sudan did. Nigeria, the Biafrans already tried that, and they failed. And right now, a majority of them don't want it anymore. They want their situation better. They want to be able to control their own lives in Nigeria. And what they're really talking about, they want a true federation. Because Nigeria is a federal republic of Nigeria, but it's not a true federation, because the central government in Nigeria still controls everything. And so the Yorubas, the Igbos, and these other states, they're not really states like we have states in the United States. They're not. They're not federated states. And that Nigeria may one day fix, and they will be good with their Biafra. And Ambazonia will be left in the cold. And I say that as though something can happen. No, it will not even happen, because there is absolutely no basis for that. I was reading an article by a Nigerian journalist who just said it was one of the dumbest things in the world. Nigeria is our frontline state. We need them with us in our fight, not the jigger in their foot that can only drag us down. Because the agitations of those who want to go and refight the fight that the Biafrans lost in the 1960s, I mean, they are more like jigger. I think you know what I mean by jigger. They are more like jigger on a Nigerian toe. I listened to an interview by Al Jazeera to Buhari. President Buhari laughed at the idea and said, 2 million, I don't know if it was 2 million, but he said, that's a war that was already fought and 2 million people died. Who wants to try it again? And refused to answer the question. So that is the jigger that Nigeria doesn't want to go. They would like to you know, they take out jigger with little specks. They would like to definitely not have that itch, but that's how little the idea of a Biafran independent state is. I'm being informed about that. I don't know how true that is, but that's my understanding. I'll repeat this part. Nigeria is our frontline state. We need them with us in our fight, not the jigger in their foot that can only drag us down. Hell no. It doesn't matter how Nigeria feels about us now, but we cannot afford to be caught rubbing shoulders with their Biafra. We can be angry that Nigeria gave up Siseko and the interim government, who are right now in La Republique jails. But Nigerian courts have already ruled that Nigeria was wrong. And I can tell you, I think Nigeria knew that they did the wrong thing. They did the wrong thing. But Nigeria is a country that still needs to develop and take its leadership position in Africa. We cannot wait for that day. We cannot wait until that day comes, because it's coming very, very slow. But we cannot be caught rubbing shoulders with Biafra. Because Biafra, their struggle I'm going to address that in a line that is coming. The Biafra people have their fight with Nigeria. That's very different from what we have with colonial France and her colonized people of La République du Cameroon. And this is a repetition, but I will repeat it. Biafra is trying to break away from Nigeria. It's a fight which is tougher. It's a fight that they tried and failed. It's a fight that is not where ours is. Ours is a legal fight. We have advanced this fight so far that we are on the last stage of our fight. It's a legal fight. If you go and read independent reporters, they all say how right our fight is, and we've done the right things. So La République is the one running away now, is the one running scared now. Not us anymore. I think we're used to death. They've killed our people until right now. I was listening to a song by a little girl, and we're not afraid of death anymore. And that is the nightmare of La République. They thought we'll be afraid of death, we'll be afraid of weapons. They brought the weapons of death. They killed our citizens. Now we're used to death. We're all ready to die. And that's what has stopped La République, because they cannot kill all of us. And the world won't stand for that. Our struggle is in its last stage. We need horizontal relationships in our upward mobility, not the other way down. We need to be forming coalitions with countries that can help us finish our liberation struggle. We do not need to go and be making coalitions with rebels in a country where they have absolutely no control. We'll be bringing down our struggle. We'll be creating enmity with a frontline state, Nigeria. We don't want that. Only someone who is idle, hallucinating, and has zero going for him can imagine this kind of blunder and associate it with our ordained amber struggle. I'm going to read that again. In fact, let me read the whole paragraph again. Our struggle is in its last stage. We need horizontal relationships in our upward mobility, not the other way down. Only someone who is idle, hallucinating, and has zero going for him can imagine this kind of blunder and associate it with our ordained amber struggle. And that's my response to Chiwayeba. That the conversation that Mr. Johnson Sikot had with the Biafran, I don't know if he's a YouTuber or something like that, that was a fruitful conversation. It was promoting our struggle. It was informing Nigerians of our struggle. And if Chiwayeba thought he could translate that into a coalition, it's the dumbest thing. It's the dumbest thing anybody has done in this struggle. And so that needs to stop. And so Mr. Chiwayeba doesn't need to think that people did not understand what he's trying to do, and so he's going to have another session and answer questions. No, we understood everything, sir. It's wrong. It's wrong to do that. It's wrong for you to go around saying that you are the leader of the Ambazonian struggle. I mean, you can say it doesn't mean anything, but it just looks ridiculous. I think talk is cheap. But let's all really fight for the Ambazonia, which is our country, and then we can go down there and talk to our people, gain their votes, and then do whatever they want us to do for them. But doing all of that now is actually preventing the real thing from happening. And that is sad. Let's all grow up. Please, grow up.